But I think we've been talking long enough.
Get him. Get him. Oh my god. Holy crap. Okay. Oh, President Garvey, be careful with that thing. Fallout 4 is a game that allows you to tackle pretty much every situation in any number of ways. One of those ways is to allow the player to approach a combat encounter with companions, aka meat shields, that will be able to do all the fun things about this game for you. In fact, the thing that Fallout 4 has over all the other games in its series is the amount of companions. There are significantly more companions available to the player in this game than compared to the previous games. The game generally expects the player to have one companion, but what if I capture all of them and force them to fight all my enemies? Let's find out. Welcome back to Challenge Chronicles. Today's episode, Fallout 4 as a Pokemon Master. So I guess you're probably wondering what the hell that even means. Well, allow me to clear up the air real quick.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
So, like I said 5 seconds ago, Fallout 4 normally only allows the player to have one companion at any one time. But, hear me out, what if there wasn't a limit? I saw this mod that allows the player to have unlimited companions, and that's where I got the idea for this run. Essentially, I have to recruit every companion I come across, and I cannot attack anything myself, only my companions can. Quick side note as well, I playtested this idea on another save and I found that companions are super fucking pathetic when it comes to combat, so I decided that another mod was also essential. And that is this mod, Companion Overhaul. It changes a lot of little things about the companions in this game, but basically, overall, it allows my companions to hold their own in combat. It doesn't make them dish out better damage or have a juiced up health bar or anything. It just gives them one extra brain cell that tells them to go into cover or switch weapons sometimes. Without this mod, this run would probably be impossible. By the way guys, this was possibly my most buggy, broken, and wacky run of Fallout 4 that I've ever done. Like, I really was pushing my Fallout 4 to its god-given limits until the universe started crashing and crumbling around me. Stick around till the end to see just how broken it got. With these pleasantries out of the way, let's get down to the run. I suppose we should probably begin at the opener for the game. In the beginning, there was me, staring at a mirror. I decided to make myself look like one of the greatest Pokemon Masters to ever exist, and then I turned away to go back to my shitty life. I talked to Codsworth and then once again saw the newspaper headliner saying that our glorious leader Trump 3000 has destroyed another foreign country, and that's just when the Vault Tech nerd greeted me at my door. For my special stats, I went 10 in Charisma because I'll need to be getting all the companion perks I can, especially Inspiration, and the rest of the skills are kinda useless, so I just distributed the points evenly. I then gave myself a name that both fit my vibe and served as a reference to one of the greatest YouTube videos of all time.
Child with the hat.
I'm Ass Ketchup.
Your first name is Ass.
Yes. It's foreign.
Foreign from where? What country do you hail from?
Pallet Town. I'm just here to catch Pokemon.
I tickled the worm, said goodbye to Codsworth, and then ran to the vault. I found a baseball glove on the ground that I befriended and decided to try and kick to the vault. After a long while, I realized it would take way too long for me to take the baseball glove to the vault, and that's boring as crap, so I knew I had to get rid of him. I took him over near the river and gave him the of mice and men treatment. I'm sorry, little one.
Bye-bye, Lenny. Good night, kids. Good luck with those book reports.
I got to the vault and tried to do another 360 no-scope off these boxes, but failed miserably. I went down into the vault and got into the freezer. While I was hong-shoeing, something happened. I'm pretty sure my wife got abducted by aliens, but I don't know. I then emerged from the cryopod and decided to take out my anger on those around me by completely ignoring the radroaches and sprinting out of the vault. I had a tiny bit of trouble shutting the roaches back in the vault, but I eventually was able to snag the Pip-Boy. I exited the vault, absorbed that sweet, sweet irradiated air, and the run has officially begun. For my first objective, I set my eyes on Sanctuary. You would think that it was so I could get Codsworth as a follower, but that's not going to happen just yet. I talked to Codsworth and then watched him as he laid waste to the roaches and bugs in Sanctuary. He then told me to piss off to Concord. I then went to the Red Rocket truck stop and found our very first follower for the run, my very first Pokemon. You know him, you love him, Dogmeat. Let's go. together, dog schmeat. I then tested him out on some blood bugs and was less than impressed with his lethality. He went down in 2 swipes from this blood bug, and I knew I had to get more companions before going into Concord. So I set my eyes on Diamond City. Nothing really of note happened on my way to Diamond City. It was just normal, casual stroll through a rotten wasteland. When I got to Diamond City, I helped Piper get through the gate by posing as a delivery man. I talked to the mayor, and then did the interview with Piper, and she agreed to let me recruit her. Our second Pokemon was now with us. Now was it time for Concord? No, it was time for Park Street Station. Why? You know why, man. Getting to Park Street Station, I had the tiniest bit of mishaps trying to get Piper to take out the Triggermen there, because they have submachine guns, and that hurts. She and Dogmeat eventually got through the Triggermen there, however, it just took a bit of time. The same can be said for the subway tunnel, just biding our time and taking cover, taking out one Triggerman at a time. When I got inside to Vault 114, I used a similar strategy, take cover and wait for Piper to slowly take out the Triggerman. I did have a problem with this section, however. There was quite the amount of enemies in this room, and they all wanted to fill Piper's body with— wait, hold up. I mean riddle her with bullets. That was close. I did eventually get past this room by sneaking off to the left here and running past all of them to get into the vault. I found Dino. Piper and Dogmeat knocked him down a couple times before they finally finished him. I then freed Valentine, and we took on the Triggermen that entered the room. We headed up through the vault slowly but surely, but taking out all the Triggermen that are in our way. Piper got downed a couple times, but then I gave her a submachine gun and she was able to hold her own. When we got to Skinny Malone, I decided to fight him. You thought, I have max charisma? Obviously I passed the check with Darla. We played hide and go outside with Skinny, and then I talked to Valentine. He told me to meet him in Diamond City, so I travelled there and met him at his office. After a small interview, Valentine told me it was time to ravage Kellogg's house. I sweet talked the mayor into giving me the keys to Kellogg's house, and I went into Kellogg's house and ravaged Kellogg's house that Kellogg used to be in. Oh jeez, there was too many Kellogg's in one sentence. That word sounds weird now. Kellogg. Anyway, I got the cigars from Kellogg's house along with the rest of his possessions and told Valentine that I already have Dogmeat here, we should totally get Kellogg together. I travelled to Concord because I actually want to take out the raiders there, and so I can get Codsworth and Preston as companions. However, Dogmeat had other plans. Dogmeat is still in Diamond City, and he refuses to become my companion again until I go to Fort Hagen and let him do his little sniff I found him routine. So I ran to Fort Hagen with my merry band of 2 people and waited like 2 days for Dogmeat to get there. I then had to restrain myself from dismissing him because it's basically muscle memory at this point. I then did not go into Fort Hagen and instead travelled to Concord in order to finally help those Minutemen. We headed into Concord where Nick and Piper made short work of those raiders there, and then we headed inside. The raiders inside didn't pose too much of a threat, especially since I just acquired the Inspiration perk, which makes my companions deal more damage, and the Intimidation perk, which allows me to do this. So I can just take a couple of peeps out of the fight if I have to. Progressing through the Museum of Freedom, I let Piper and Valentine handle all the raiders while I was trying to get this fuck-ass door to open so I could snag this AA battery, and we talked to Preston. He told us to get into the power armor, and then went outside and made Valentine get into the power armor and gave him the minigun. We then got to the ground and laid waste to all the raiders there. At first, Valentine started using his pipe revolver on the raiders, which had me worried. Choosing a pipe revolver over literally any gun in any fight at all is like refusing to eat a beef burger and instead opting for a piece of shit feces in your sandwich, aka a fake burger patty. Okay, relax vegetarians. In reality, your food tastes far worse than that. I was low-key frightened of the Deathclaw, which is why I was hesitating to activate it, because I knew Deathclaws can usually one-tap most peeps. However, I was then completely proven wrong by Valentine switching to his minigun and instantly turning that Deathclaw into a pile of minced beef. We then turned the rest of the raiders into Swiss cheese, and then Preston told us to meet us at Sanctuary. I then travelled back to Sanctuary, talked to Codsworth, and was finally able to recruit him to my team of Pokemon. I then talked to Preston, and he told me that I needed to help a settlement before I could recruit him. Most of these companions need a quest to be done before you can recruit them, but just think about it like you're lowering a Pokemon's health so you can capture it. So I went over to 10 Pines Bluff, or whatever it's called, and told me and my merry crew to go take care of the raiders at Corvega Assembly Plant. And so we travelled there and laid waste to all the raiders outside. My squad was able to quickly and efficiently take out the raiders that were sniping at us from above. We then entered the facility and took out the raiders inside, one by one. I had a tiny bit of trouble with the turrets and whatever killed me here, but we eventually were able to kill all the raiders. I didn't even see my peeps kill Jared, I only heard his abject screaming from the other room while Piper filled him with lead. We returned to the settlement, told the settlers that the raiders were dealt with, and then we went back to Preston Garvey, who presented me with a flare gun for my troubles. He then asked me to be the general in command of the Minutemen. I agreed, and I was able to recruit him as my companion. My 5th Pokemon was now in my possession. I then travelled to Diamond City to sell all the junk and various doodads I found. I then remembered something else that I should set my eyes on while hanging out in Diamond City.
That's for raiders only. Combat zone. I'd stay clear if I was you.
Oh my god, Kate. I should go recruit Kate as well. The combat zone. There is another companion there that I can recruit. With my merry band of refugees at my side, we leveled the combat zone and completely obliterated the raiders there. I then talked to Kate and recruited her as my companion. My 6th Pokemon is now in my possession. My team is growing stronger with every second that passes, and with the 2 newest recruits on my side, I knew we were ready for Kellogg. We travelled to Fort Hagen and destroyed all the synths there. Those dumb clankers couldn't stand the might of my team of Pokemon, and with Valentine and his minigun, I knew that there were very few people in the wasteland that really could handle us. I then grabbed all the synth guns I could find and gave them all to my merry gang to upgrade their arsenal. Progressing down into Fort Hagen, I made use of Codworth's flamethrower attack to destroy the turrets, and then made Valentine use his minigun attack on the others. Deeper into the fort, I found the armory password, took out all the turrets guarding it, and ravaged the armory. I grabbed the Fat Man and spent a couple minutes pondering who I should give it to. I then decided I would give it to Preston because he had the least amount of guns on him. Why do I feel like that was a bad idea? We went into Kellogg's chamber, and the second that the dialogue was over, my team absolutely obliterated him.
But I think we've been talking long enough.
Get him. Get him. Oh my god. Holy crap. Okay. Oh, Preston Garvey, be careful with that thing. I expected Preston to use his Fat Man during the fight, but he decided to use his 1 mini nuke on the wall after the fight was over. Amazing decision. I snagged all of Kellogg's stuff and then ravaged the computer, and then I talked to Nick. He said to talk to Dr. Amari at the memory den to get some info out of Kellogg's brain. So we dipped out of Fort Hagen, saw the Brotherhood entering the Commonwealth, and then we travelled to Good Neighbor. I talked to Dr. Amari, who strapped me into a chair and probably slipped me some psychedelic drug. I spawned in the memory segment and then discovered that my friends apparently followed me in there. So me and my merry gang went through Kellogg's memories. Kellogg's memories were boring as ever, but I got to the end segment and watched as my gang of merry men and women slowly filling the room and prevented the courser from walking. That was pretty funny. I left the memory world and talked to Dr. Amari. He told me to go find Virgil in the Glowing Sea. I started traveling into the Glowing Sea and came across a little playground where my firing squad managed to take down an alpha Deathclaw. I'm so proud of them. Then I actually got to the Glowing Sea and we took out some rad scorpions before making it to Adam's butthole. I talked to this thing, and she told me where Virgil was. I went to Virgil's cave and my happy family eviscerated the Deathclaw outside, and then we headed in. I talked to Virgil and he told me to go to Green Tech to kill a Corsair. So I travelled to CIT, where my Pokemon took out another family of raiders, and then we headed inside to Green Tech. The gunners there were kind of no problem for my squad. The gunners did hurt me quite a lot, but I just sat my ass down in a corner and waited until the battle was over. We progressed up through the building, where I tried to get Valentine to hack these master lock terminals, but he failed me. Literal robot, by the way, guys. I got to the Corsair and immediately sicked my goons on him, who all got him locked in a corner and took turns absolutely clocking him with haymakers to the jaw. He was stuck there, eating nothing but lead and knuckle sandwiches until his body gave out and the life was beaten out of him. I snagged the Corsair chip, got the password, activated the elevator, freed the synth girl, and then headed to Good Neighbor to get Dr. Amari to analyze the chip. Amari said she couldn't analyze it because she's fucking useless, and then she told me to go to the railroad. Now, I decided at this point that the ending that I would go for would probably be the railroad ending, as it's the ending that no companion would oppose. Doing the Brotherhood ending would make Valentine leave me, and probably Piper too, and doing the Minutemen ending I just didn't want to do that, to be honest. I tracked down the Old North Church and destroyed the ghouls there. I made it to Railroad HQ and Desdemona questioned me. I told her to shut it and let me inside because I just made up some shit about helping Ricky out of a jam, and she just kind of complied. Charisma is so overpowered that Des didn't even think about my story or who Ricky was, because I just made him up. I got Tinker Tom to analyze the chip, and then I took the data back to Virgil, who gave me a bunch of crayon drawings. I traveled back to the railroad hideout and talked to Deacon, and he told me that I have to do a mission for them before they would be able to trust me.
Can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
So me and my merry gang traveled to this bridge where we met up with Deacon. We walked as slow as the physics of the game would allow us to, and then we met this guy who told us to go down into the sewer to grab our prototype thingy. I wasn't listening. We all went down into the sewer where we destroyed the turrets and synths down there. Also, while I was down here, I was alerted to something silly that happens sometimes with my companions. Sometimes, in the heat of battle, my companions will accidentally land a stray bullet or a stray juicer on one of my other companions, which then makes them aggressive and all my companions start fighting each other. It stops when the companion gets knocked down, but it's really annoying in a big fight when I need all the hands on deck. The synths weren't too bad in this section, but I did on one occasion get turned into Iceman from the X-Men franchise by this cryo mine, but it's fine because I got up and brushed myself off, no harm done. Progressing through the synths, I made Valentine hack this terminal which allowed me to turn off all the turrets, and then we finally got to the vault door. We found whoever we were looking for. Deacon gave me a legendary weapon, I grabbed the prototype, and we went back to HQ where I made up some shit about single-handedly taking out all the synths while carrying Deacon on my back, and then I was welcomed into the railroad. We have now gotten to the point of the playthrough where I have so many companions that it's starting to block some characters' movements and preventing them from doing certain tasks. Anyway, I recruited Deacon into my team, I saw Des welcome me into the railroad, and then I talked to her about the signal interceptor. She finally let me use their resources to build the teleporter, and then I handed the plans to Tinker Tom. They all told me to clear out Starlight Drive-In and build the teleporter there. My firing squad easily wiped the floor with the mole rats there, and then I built the platform. I then went back to Tinker Tom and told him to haul his ass over to Starlight Drive-In while I secure a sensor module for the signal interceptor. Before I went in search of the sensor module, I remembered one more companion that I could recruit to my side. I went down into the bar in Good Neighbor and found McCready dealing with some gunner goons. I forked over 200 caps to recruit him, and then I added him to my team. My team was growing. I now had 8 Pokemon fighting for me. I was basically unstoppable. I took my team to Revere Satellite Array, and then after getting my face blown off by some jerker with a rocket launcher, I dusted myself off and grabbed the sensor module. I went back to Starlight Drive-In and started building the teleporter. I ran into a bit of trouble trying to build the interceptor, however. I had to scrounge around for parts because I was missing some components for the generators because I didn't quite have enough power. So I searched the place, got stuck in a building, died to a mine a total of 1 time, and then I was able to build the teleporter. Des gave me a holotape to contact Patriot, an Institute scientist who has been helping synths escape, and then I was teleported inside the Institute. Inside the Institute, I loaded the holotape onto the terminal and contacted Patriot. He told me to meet him in the supply closet for some R&R, and I agreed. I went down the elevator where I saw my companions teleporting to me and staring at me menacingly, and then I met Father. I sped through the dialogue faster than Sonic after doing a line of my Primo powder from Schedule 1, and then he told me to meet the other directors. I found Patriot in the supply closet and he told me to talk to his synth friend. I talked to them and they said they needed a passcode for something. So I talked to the rest of the Institute directors, so I was able to leave, and I teleported to Railroad HQ. I talked to Des about getting Z1 that password. Pam looked through the records of all the peeps that had high-level passwords, and told me to go to Cambridge Polymer Labs. So I travelled there, talked to Molly after getting her confused with Codsworth, and then she locked me in the lab area. I let my firing squad let loose on the ghouls there, and then I got the password, turned off the defences, and then I ditched. I went back to Railroad HQ and gave Des the password. Then I went back to the Institute and talked to Z1 and told him to rally support for our cause. I sat next to him, waited a full 24 hours, and then I talked to him again and he told me to kill some guards. Amazing. I went into the inner chamber and then I aggroed the guards by pickpocketing their ammo off them and then letting my army pack them up. I couldn't even tell what was happening because there were so many bullets and people flying everywhere that I couldn't keep track of it. When the smoke cleared, the synth guards were dead. So I called it a win for me and the team. I went back to Z1 and he told me to continue working with Father. So I did just that. I went back to Father to tell him that I want to help him, and he sent me on a synth recall mission to go get a synth from Libertalia. So I travelled all the way to Libertalia, and after watching X688 get obliterated by some Brotherhood nerds, I told him that I'm ready to go get the synths. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I got ended by these raiders more than once. What the f***? What the f***?
Can do.
What the f? My Pokemon only zero in on the nearest enemy to them. So this motherfucker that keeps launching mini nukes at me is able to pack me up in one go with no resistance. My army was scattered all over Libertalia and I was in a tough spot. However, all is not lost. All I had to do was wait until my army killed all the raiders down on the basement level of Libertalia, and then I could finally finish Bro with the Fat Man. So I started dodging mini nukes, just barely, until I made it to shelter. After about a few minutes, the last raider on the bottom floor got murked. This dude's fucked now. My army completely stormed the fort and packed everyone up one after the other like it was nothing. And then found the legendary drum shotgun, put it in my pockets for safekeeping, and then I had the teeniest bit of trouble trying to find the ladder to the roof. But don't worry, I found it in the end. I talked to the Synth and passed a charisma check on him, only for X688 to use the recall code anyway. Whatever, who cares anyway. I teleported back to the Institute and informed Father of my victory. He then set me on my next mission, Bunker Hill. Now, I'm not gonna lie here, this is where things got fucking weird. He told me to meet up with another Courser who will guide me through the Battle of Bunker Hill, but I didn't do that. I went back to HQ and told Des that the Institute planned to storm Bunker Hill and kidnap the Synths there. So she told me that she'll send reinforcements and I should protect the Synths. So that's when I traveled to the Courser who led me through the area. The Brotherhood were there for some reason, and I was able to just ignore most of them and run past them while my squad dealt with them. I also gave my legendary drum shotgun to Preston, I think, and I also gave the Deliverer and Kellogg's pistol to Deacon. Yes, I straight up accepted Deacon's legendary pistol that he insisted that I keep, and then gave it back to him. What of it? Going into the basement, I once again ran past all the Brotherhood dudes and got to the Synths. I waited until my squad was finishing mowing down the Brotherhood Knight in the main room, they teleported to me, and then I told the Synths that they're free. The Courser opened fire on me, and something extremely strange happened. The Courser kept being absolutely obliterated by my squad, but instead of dying, he would get knocked down like he was a companion. Then he would get back up and his health bar would reset. This happened for quite the amount of time. I would just watch as he would eat a million bullets to the face, and then watch as his health bar reset like nothing happened. I don't know what happened here. Maybe the game just isn't used to me being able to have my companions kill him. Maybe he's only killable by the actual player? I don't know. Anyway, I had to use my 10mm and bust a cap in his head while he was down, which was able to pack him up. It doesn't count. I had to do it because my game was broken and impossible otherwise. Or maybe it does count. I don't know. If you think that that counted as failing the challenge, please leave a like and share this video with a friend. Anyway, I treaded over all the bodies to get to the exit, and I travelled to CIT and met Father on the roof. He yelled at me for completely failing at what I was supposed to do, called the world a failure that deserved being blown to Timbuktu, and then he dipped. What stick was up his ass? When I travelled to the Institute, Father invited me to the Directorate meeting, where he announced to the world that he was going to die a slow, painful death. He also announced me as the successor to his reign, right after I realised who he was talking to because I was so bored.
Have you heard anything about Phase 3?
Huh? Oh, me? And then everyone dipped. I was told that X688 was now available to be my companion, so I sprinted around the Institute until I found him, and then I told him to get the fuck in that Pokeball, and he agreed. My team is now 9 members strong. I don't think that there was any enemy in the game that we couldn't take, so I decided that now is the time for mass fusion. I talked to Dr. Fillmore, and she told me to accompany me to mass fusion. Great, another talking head to take up an elevator spot. I teleported to mass fusion, became enemies with the Brotherhood, and then I had my Pokemon wipe the floor with the Brotherhood scrubs there. I grabbed the keycard, hacked the computer, and then we went down the elevator. The elevator was hell, straight up. There were so many companions in there that I simply was pressed against the back wall of the elevator and couldn't move. Hold up, not like that. At least my peeps acted as meat shields, but also they did that thing again where they attacked each other, and they all for whatever reason started throwing sucker punches to Nick Valentine's face until he got knocked to the ground and left my party. The elevator landed on the floor with the Brotherhood peeps, my squad turned them into ash in a matter of seconds, and then I was able to get Nick Valentine to rejoin my party because he got stuck trying to leave the building. I reactivated the elevator, and then we got to the main floor. After annihilating some more Brotherhood nerds, I found the agitator and was able to snag it on my first try by chugging the last 2 Rad-X pills I had left in my inventory and then using all my Radaway. After that, it was time to take on the Sentry Bot. I knew my team could take it, but I guess the Sentry Bot didn't know if it could take my team? Yeah, so the sentry bot rolled out, started laying into my peeps, and then nothing. It just stopped attacking my peeps. Just started only attacking Ali Fillmore. And I was able to talk to it like it was friendly.
What?
I reloaded a save, and then I think it happened again, but then my squad was able to pack it up on the third try. The f is that? That was so weird. This game is so fucking broken, man, I swear to God. The Assaultrons came out, and my army of Pokemon dealt with them with easy peasy, along with the Protectron that disappeared from this plane of existence because I guess I had somewhere better to be. And then I suffered through another elevator ride. After that, I gunned it to the exit, and then I fast traveled back to the Institute. When I returned, Father praised me for my work at Mass Fusion, and then put me on another job. Oh, this fucking guy and sending me out to do missions, bro. He sends me to this shack somewhere where some Institute dudes are pinned down by some gunners, and they're trying to convince a rogue scientist to come back or some shit. I rolled up and just stood there. I've gotten to the point where I can just take juices and bullets to the noggin and have faith that my squad can just finish them all up. I'm straight up on my aura farming stuff right now. After getting into the shack, I easily convinced the dude to come back to the Institute with my max charisma skill, but not before having a couple strokes.
No!
Whoa, what
You're
the
here to
hell?
kidnap me. That's what you people do, isn't it? I've heard all this stuff. Fine, fine.
The Institute dudes leave, and then I go back to the Institute in order to do a speech with Father over the radio. I told everyone in the Commonwealth to politely piss off, and then Father told me to go to Diamond City to break into Travis's pathetic excuse for a shack of loneliness and rearrange all his stuff. I went to Travis's house, and the sheer amount of people in that tiny abode genuinely made me weep, like I couldn't even get to the controls or nothing. I eventually got through my horde of Pokemon, however, and my speech that I recorded is now live broadcast material. I went back to the Institute and saw Father give a speech as I loaded the brilliant agitator into the generator to get it going. I attended one more directorate meeting, of which I absolutely sped through the dialogue faster than the speed of light because I'm not trying to hear that shit. After that though, I ran into some trouble. Z1 held an emergency meeting with me to tell me that the Brotherhood is onto the railroad tricks and is on their way to stomp them out. I travelled to HQ to tell them what happened, but I forgot that X688 was in my party, so everyone became hostile. My squad could have easily packed them up, but I'm going for the railroad ending, not the Institute ending. So I reloaded a save and dismissed him before going to HQ. I warned Dez that the Brotherhood was coming, and then I quite literally dove into a corner and hid until the lasers stopped flying. I have no earthly idea what happened during that fight. I'm pretty sure Nick Valentine ate a Brotherhood power armor sucker punch to the face before getting knocked down. What a champ. But the rest of my squad was able to finish them off pretty easily. After that, Dez decided it was time to take down the Brotherhood. And that's understandable. She told me to meet Tinker Tom near Cambridge Police Station to help him with a vertibird. So I travelled to Cambridge Police Station, met up with Tom, and I watched as my Pokemon mowed down all the Knights and Paladins without mercy. The Brotherhood Knights and Paladins are tough, but I just gave a minigun to Piper and Kate, so they weren't going to be living through that. I'm sorry Brotherhood, but you're done. I progressed through the station, watching as my squad mowed down everyone one by one, and then made it to the roof. I saw my squad obliterate the last Knight before he could even say anything, and then we boarded the vertibird, and then this happened. My companions teleport to me when I'm too far away, so while I was in the vertibird, I just watched them continuously teleport to me and then fall into oblivion, and then my game crashed. So goddamn funny, bro. Anyway, we started flying over the Pridwin, and then I was ready to sneak past all the defenses because I have max charisma, and passing the check with the Brotherhood peeps is going to be so easy. At least, that was, until my companions teleported to me, including Nick Valentine, who is a synth, which then prompted the Brotherhood to turn us all into Swiss cheese. Luckily, Nick was quicker on the draw. I swear to God, Nick is the GOAT of this team, and I was able to head inside. It took more than one go to get past all the lasers of Brotherhood scrubs. It took 2 hits of a jet inhaler to even get close to the spots where I could plant the explosives, and although my companions did a fantastic job of drawing the Brotherhood's fire, I was still being shot more than I would have liked. I eventually got the explosives there, however, and then I got on the vertibird and watched the Pridwin go down in flames. Back at Railroad HQ, they told me that now was the time for the big one, the Institute. I teleported to the Institute and informed Z1 that now was the time. I aggroed one of the guards and then dove into a corner and watched as the bullets went flying. Z1 teleported Dez and Tom into the Institute, and Dez gave me a bomb. I headed through the old tech rooms, trying as best as I can to take as many synths out of the fight as possible, and I got into the bioscience lab. I sat back and watched as my group melted everyone into a succulent beef minced chili con carne dinner, and climbed over all the bodies and then into the main chamber. This is where the real battle began. Synths everywhere, coursers everywhere. I ducked down when the bullets started flying and watched in awe as the Institute scientists and synths dropped like flies. As more of my team poured into the room, the more bullets and general explosives started wailing through the air. It was a complete massacre, a total utter bloodbath. It was beautiful. After the bodies finished hitting the floor and the room fell silent, Tom came into the radio and told me that I needed to go to Father's terminal and turn off the emergency shutdown. I went up to Father while he was sick and dying on a bed of loneliness and told him to suck it because me and my amazing team have won. I convinced him to give me the code to his computer so I could disable some of the synths, and then I ended the shutdown. I left Father there on his bed, not because I couldn't attack him without failing the challenge, but because I wanted him to stay there, dying incredibly slowly and painfully, feeling his organs shut down while I blew up the Institute, being totally conscious the whole time. I'm a perfectly well-adjusted person, don't even ask. I headed back to the main chamber, and the bullets started flying once more. No one was safe from my Pokemon. Not synths, not coursers, not even innocent scientists who were just doing as they were told. They all were turned to compost. I went into the generator room and ran to the generator while my team of Pokemon kept the legendary synths at bay. I retrieved the beryllium agitator, and it took a hot minute for Tom to beam me back to the platform for some reason, but then I got there. Before I left, I recruited my 10th and final Pokemon to my team, my son, and then I told Tom to punch it, Chewy. I was teleported to a safe distance with my merry gang behind me, and I pressed the blow up the Institute button. And that's it. That's a wrap. I just completed Fallout 4 as a Pokemon Master. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of another video. If you guys liked it, go ahead and leave a like. If you disliked it, however, go ahead and leave a dislike, and feel free to go down to the comments and tell me all the other ways I'm a total f***head. If you like this kind of content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's totally free, I do this content all the time, and you can always unsubscribe later. Anyway, that's all from me. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Challenge Chronicles, and I'm out of here.